Right now, we're a couple weeks away before the premiere of Disney's new live action remake of Snow White. And generally, at a stage like this, movie studios for big budget movies such as Snow White would try to generate a lot of publicity surrounding the movie in the lead up to the release. That's why they have all these red carpet premieres around the world. The cast and principal people involved with it will be doing lots of interviews with various media outlets. But it seems like Disney is trying to tone that down a bit. Not only are they doing fewer press events and what you would expect from a movie of this size, but they're actually canceling some of the ones on the table right now. And it really does seem like Disney is trying to hide Rachel Zegler from the public spotlight, because a lot of the bad press surrounding this movie can be laid at the feet of Rachel Zegler. No, I'm not saying she's solely involved, because there's other issues with the movie that are beyond her control. The effects that we've seen in the trailer for it don't look that great. The story itself, from at least what we've heard about it, doesn't sound like it's going to be that great. And I'm not going to necessarily blame Rachel Zegler for this, but there is a lot of animosity about this movie that is focused on Rachel Zegler and some of the past comments that she said about the original Snow White movie. And this is kind of leaked over into every video that they've released on it. All the trailers are getting heavily ratioed. The original trailer had over 1 million dislikes. This latest video that came out a couple of weeks ago has 24,000 dislikes to just under 4,000 likes on it, when they're trying to basically remind everyone, like, oh, where this story came from, and remind people of the original one. I think that was kind of a dumb move on their part, because why would you remind people of the original classic when your movie is so different from that, or at least it's supposedly so different from the original? It's basically just doing a comparison that I don't think they should want to invite, but they're doing what they're doing. But right now, a lot of the press surrounding the movie has been not very good for it, but it looks like Disney is trying to almost, I would say, bring in or curate friendly media outlets in order to give them favorable coverage in the lead up to the release of this movie. Disney cancels UK Snow White premiere amid backlash and fears of negative Rachel Zegler press. Will limit her to tightly controlled press events. Disney's live action Snow White is shaping up to be one of the studio's most troubled releases in recent memory, and now a major red flag has appeared. The company has canceled its planned Snow White UK premiere, reportedly due to concerns over backlash and controversy. Instead of a star-studded event in London, Disney will hold a small number of tightly controlled press events, an unusual move for a film with a $200 million plus budget and massive marketing campaign. And yeah, I can't emphasize this enough. This is very unusual for a movie of this size to cancel the London premiere like this, especially since a lot of this movie was actually shot in the UK. And it really does seem like, I'm not going to say Disney is trying to limit their spending on this. I've said in the past that they should just mitigate the damage and not do any publicity for this movie, because any dollar that they invest in it further after the already bloated budget for it is wasted money. But they continued on this way, so I don't think they're trying to penny pinch now. I think they understand that most of the publicity surrounding this movie, every time they give interviews and other things, has been negative. So they're trying to limit the negativity, and that's why they're only doing press events for selected outlets, because there are some outlets out there who will still give them favorable coverage, and that's something that they need. They don't need general media coverage that couldn't be anything but glowing. They need to have everything looking great before the lead up of the release, and I don't think that's really going to be happening for them, even when they're trying to pull a move like this. This decision suggests that Disney fully understands how negatively the film has been received, and is now taking steps to limit the damage as much as possible ahead of its March 21st release. Why is Disney skipping the UK premiere? According to sources, Disney is concerned about a backlash tied to the changes made to the film, as well as the public perception of lead actress Rachel Zegler. Instead of the usual high-profile Snow White UK premiere, which would have taken place in Lancaster Square, the studio has scaled down media appearances, carefully selecting only a handful of press outlets to cover the film. This suggests Disney does not want to risk open-ended media interactions that could lead to more controversy. And that is something that has been a problem for this movie, particularly with Rachel Zegler, when she's just kind of off the cuff answering questions about this movie. I mean, that's really where a lot of the problems came from back at D23 several years ago. She was answering questions about it, and that's where you get that famous interaction where she's saying like, "Oh, the prince came across as a stalker. We're not going to do that movie. It's not about trying to find true love. It's about her being a girl boss." I mean, she didn't use those words. I mean, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but that's essentially what it was. And a lot of people didn't like it. And it's not that people didn't like it because it was pushing a modern day political message. A lot of longtime Disney fans also didn't like that they're deviating from the original movie, because the original movie is a beloved classic for a reason. And when you're losing your key demographic, which is Disney fans, well, then you're in trouble. And that's why since then we've seen Disney try to almost reshape Rachel Zegler's image. Just a couple weeks ago, there was an interview that she put out that they even acknowledged that the interview was done to release in conjunction with the movie. So it's as favorable as possible coverage that they can get. And she was trying to reshape a lot of the narrative surrounding her, because in the past, when she was getting criticized, they're saying like, "Oh, it's just ists and phobes criticizing her," and people didn't like that response to it. And they basically been leaning on that for years, but now they're trying to backpedal and be like, "Oh no, they're just passionate fans, and we love how passionate they are about Snow White." To me, it just comes across as disingenuous and too little too late. People know how she actually feels. And I don't even think that these are her words. I think it's just something that the PR firm surrounding the movie told her to say. And she's just kind of like, "Okay, I'll just regurgitate the message. I mean, I'm an actress. My job is just to read lines that other people write for me. So this is just more of the same." And that's why a lot of people don't really care that she's saying this now, because it doesn't seem like it's genuine. Her past comments seem like they're more true to her real opinions, especially since it kind of coincides with also her personality on social media, unless that's all fake too. If Snow White were a highly anticipated blockbuster, Disney would be doing anything possible to build excitement. Instead, they are avoiding potential negative reactions from audience, which implies they know the public sentiment isn't in their favor. So instead of releasing this movie while being essentially on the offense, trying to push the movie out there to as many people as possible, build awareness around it, they're more or less just playing defense, be like, "Okay, let's just try let's try to limit the bad publicity surrounding this movie before the release, instead of trying to promote good publicity." That's not a good place for a studio to be in for a major release like this. Then, of course, there's the Rachel Zegler factor. Zegler has been widely criticized for comments dismissing the 37 classic. I already talked about that. Another sign of trouble for Snow White. The last development comes as box office projections for the film continue to decline. The movie was initially expected to open with $63 to $70 million domestically, a disappointing figure for a film of this scale. However, now updated projections have it dropping even lower to $53 million, with the low end estimated at $48 million. Considering its budget is rumored to exceed $300 million due to extensive reshoots, Snow White would need to gross at least $600 to $700 million globally just to break even, an increasingly unlikely outcome. And with the way Disney does their movies and the way they market them and other things like that, the figure to actually break even is probably closer to the $900 million mark. But I've also even seen some estimates for their budget to be somewhere in the area of $400 million. And if that's the case, they probably need to make around $1.2 billion in order to just break even. And if you have an opening of around $48 million, I mean, even $70 million at this initial high estimate, that's still devastatingly low for a movie of this scale. And it probably is going to end up losing hundreds of millions of dollars for Disney. Complications from the Middle East conflict. That's another thing about this. Gal Gadot is Israeli, even served in their military. Rachel Zegler has been pro-Palestine online. You have that conflict between those two areas and the global news, and a lot of people are taking sides in this issue. There's some people who would say they don't want to watch it because Rachel Zegler's posting pro-Palestinian stuff. There's other people who won't watch it because Gal Gadot is involved with this. So that's not helping it, but that's just kind of unfortunate circumstances for Disney. But one thing people have noticed when it came to those two is they say there's like, it comes across as there's an animosity. I mean, I even think there probably is some stuff like some truth to that. Rachel Zegler has made posts in the past that suggest, or at least I think, can be directed at Gal Gadot. Then recently at the Oscars, there was this clip when they're announcing an award together, and some people were just noticing like there seemed to be something strange with them. I mean, I don't think it's that great, other than Rachel Zegler has an awkward walk about her, but whatever. I mean, that is what it is. I just kind of look at this again. Does it seem like there's some tension between them, or does this just seem like maybe they're a little bit nervous to be presenting this award? I don't know. I do think it's kind of important to bring up at this stage right now, because a lot of people are talking about the potential rift between the two of them. So I think I'll bring it up here too. A major red flag for Snow White. Disney canceling the Snow White UK premiere is not a routine decision. It's a clear signal that the company expects backlash and is working to minimize negative press. If the film were tracking well and audience sentiment was positive, Disney would be celebrating it with a large-scale, highly publicized event. Yeah, that's 100% true. Instead, they are choosing to limit exposure, a move that only reinforces the perception that Snow White is in serious trouble. Yeah, I don't really see how there's any other way you can take this. Them trying to limit press coverage in the lead up to the release of the movie really does suggest that they're not expecting good things about it, and they don't want press surrounding this movie. And when a studio like this doesn't want press surrounding their multi-$100 million film in the weeks before the release of the film, it does suggest that they're thinking any coverage of that movie is going to be negative, and that's why they're going to be selective over who they will actually talk to. And they'll probably have a review embargo really late, maybe even the day of the release of it, because they don't want people getting word on how bad the movie actually is. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that though, but let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think this is a bad sign for Disney, or do you think there's a lot of other circumstances as to why this would be the case? Comment below, and also if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.